All right, what up, y'all? Tuning in for another Hit With Me session. This session, we're gonna focus on staying back. And so it's a common thing that we've seen with a lot of hitters here in house, and then stuff on the internet as well, is a lot of hitters wanna lunge at the ball and they're having trouble staying back and being patient. And so that's something that you hear a lot of coaches say is stay back, wait on the ball, let it come to you, let it travel, all those things. But typically a lot of hitters, younger hitters, actually struggle with that because they don't create the angles and they don't do certain moves that actually allow them to stay back. They have to go get it. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about why it's difficult for some of them to stay back, and then also go through some drills to work on that as well. And so that's something for me that I struggled with when I played, and so it kind of hit home, and so I really want to work on that today. And so right off the jump, we're gonna go with back leg swings. This one's a little unique drill. It's where you balance on this backside right here. So I'm on my back leg and I'm gonna stretch away. So my front leg's gonna stretch away, my hands are gonna stretch back. I'm gonna get this stretch across the front of my body. And when I swing, I'm gonna kick across. And so something that you see with a lot of hitters is they wanna go forward and they jump forward, they get in this lunge really heavy. And so we're gonna take that option away completely, where we wanna move more reciprocal and stay anchored on that backside and really challenge that stability back here, because that can be a big reason why hitters want to lunge, is because they lack stability in the rear hip. So the first drill we're going to do here is called back leg swings, and we're going to do it from side toss as well, to help me get the angles that I was talking about, help me get the angles with my pelvis and my body to really drive the ball that way, because if I don't create an angle to get behind this ball from side toss, it's going to be really hard for me to stay back, because if I want to lunge and open up my hips, it's going to be really hard for me to stay back and drive that ball. So that's our first drill. I'm going to take a few swings from here, and then we're going to move on to the next one. And so this drill can be pretty tough for a lot of hitters because they lack stability in the rear hip. It's something that's been really challenging for me. I've had to work on quite a bit. I've been doing this drill pretty consistently for a little over a year now. And so regression, to kind of take a step back, I'll take one swing and show you a regression of this drill. And we call them step throughs. And so very similar. Something you want to do with this is your leg's going to be back still, but we're going to use it as a kickstand. So we don't want it to be weighted. We just want our toe, so like you can see, I can sit here and tap my toe, right? And so I'm going to be still most of my weight on this back leg. I'm going to stretch away still. And so when I get the toss, all I'm going to do is I'm going to step through like this as I swing, rather than kicking and staying on one leg the whole time, to kind of give some more stability, because both feet are on the ground here. And so this is a regression. I'm going to take one swing doing this so you guys can see that. So that's a regression if that one's too difficult for you guys. So I'm going to go back to the back leg swing for me. Really help me move more reciprocal and get plugged in with that backside. Let's go one more back leg swing. One more. And so something to be conscious of too is we are kicking across, so it can be a little difficult if the pitches are lower, where you have to really emphasize getting that barrel out. And so something too for the tosser just to be aware of, I used to do the same thing, is making sure that this ball's up. I know we want to challenge posture a lot because a lot of kids want to stand up, but it can be really hard to do this drill if the pitches are low in the zone. Because we are kicking across, and it can be a little scary for some hitters where they feel like they'll want to kick they want to hit their foot with their barrel. And so that's something that I've noticed too with some of the people we train, is we try to toss low typically to help them with posture. But with this drill in particular, it can cause some issues because they're scared of hitting their foot. And so making sure that the ball's a little bit more up in the zone can help the hitter here get the move off that they're looking for. Okay, so now we're gonna go to, we call it deep side toss. And so I'm actually gonna have Hubbard here. He's gonna take a step back more behind the camera. And so he's gonna take a step back over here on the other side, and he's gonna throw it from this deep angle here. So I'm gonna get to launch, and he's gonna be back at an angle. And so this is gonna really challenge my barrel entry, and then also too, I have to stay back on this back side to be able to enter in and hit this ball clean. So if my first move wants to come here, my barrel's already coming forward, it's gonna be really steep, and this is where I'm entering the zone, where the ball's coming back here at this angle towards me, and it can be really difficult to drive this ball, and it's gonna be something that's really challenging for me as someone who struggles with their entry, and also too struggles to stay back in their back hip. And so this is really gonna, again, feed the mistake. It should be really difficult for some hitters that like the lunge, but it can help them a lot with staying in their backside, being patient, waiting on the ball, and also create the angles to be able to do those things with some authority. Yeah, back here. Yeah, and so you can see something that some kids can do as well, or any hitter really, is they'll want to turn their shoulders more than anything. It's something I'm a little bit looser. I want to turn my shoulders to get behind the ball here, but my hips really didn't get loaded a ton, and it can make it really hard to actually drive this pitch where I want to cut this ball because I'm just turning my shoulders and not my pelvis at all to get behind this ball, where we want to get behind it like we're throwing a punch in that direction, where my hips are loading. I'm trying to drive this ball in that direction. And you should almost feel like you're driving this ball over the first baseman's head on this particular angle, and really try to drive it in that direction to really work on what we're working on and trying to stay back and stay in that back hip and be patient. And so that last one I yanked with the back a little bit. And so when you yank with the back, everything wants to kind of come forward. My barrel will drag and cut off. Makes it really hard to stay on this pitch as long as I can, which is why you may have some issues really driving the ball that way. And you know, the angles I talked about, if my back wants to yank, I already created an angle that's gonna be really hard to stay behind this ball with the bat and the barrel. So I'm gonna really challenge myself to not yank with the back, and really try to stay in my anterior obliques, the front part of my body here, to fire on these next couple, and then we'll move on to the next drill. Cool. All right, y'all. Now we're gonna go to front toss here, but with a little variation. And so this front toss in particular is actually angled towards the second baseman. And so I'll talk about that a little bit too. And then we're also gonna go short bat. We've got a new short bat from Birdman Bats. Customized it, it's like a matte black, and it's also the same weight as a 34-inch bat, drop 3, I believe. So it's still supposed to be dense, supposed to be heavy, because we found a lot of the short bats, you can manipulate just your hands, whereas this thing's heavy enough, you still have to swing your body, you can't just manipulate with your hands here. And so that's kind of why we chose this particular bat. Good quality, we've been using it the last couple weeks, and thing's nasty. So just a little reminder with the short bat too, be wary of you know, being able to manipulate with the hands and making sure that it's something that you still have to get your swing off with. But this drill that we're gonna do is gonna be short bat from launch at an angled toss with heavy balls. And so the reasoning for the short bat is because if I don't stay back and I wanna push forward, or I wanna yank with the back and I wanna get a little impatient and jumpy at the ball, the short bat's really gonna expose that, because it's not gonna be in the zone as long. My barrel's not gonna be in the zone as long as it would be with my normal bat. And so that's the reason for this. And then this angled toss too is because now the ball's coming from across at this angle from like the second baseman. And so if I go try to get this ball and my barrel's gonna wanna fly through the zone like that when I push through, it's gonna be really hard to drive this pitch. And so I have to, it really emphasizes me staying back and being patient and letting the ball come to me so I can drive it, and then also with the short bat. So this can be a challenging drill, really feeding the mistake too of wanting to be jumpy, forcing you to have to be patient. A little jumpy there. Not bad. Yeah, so when I say jumpy, what I notice with myself personally, what I feel is this backside wanting to shift forward. I don't necessarily push and my foot doesn't come out of the ground like this, and especially when I'm from launch. And so what I really notice is my hips starting to shift really early before they even rotate. And so another drill that I like to do a lot, and we did in last week's session, is an open 45, and it's a good feel to help feel like you're in that rear hip and you're screwed into the ground, and then being able to uncoil or rotate from that backside a little bit. And so something that I felt on those last couple was my first move being this little shift with my pelvis and my hips over to my front side, rather than really getting into this rear hip, screwing into the ground, and then rotating to my front side or into my front side. And so again, that goes back to the angles. When my hips shift forward, I already created an angle that's gonna be really hard to stay back and drive this ball to center to right center here without manipulating my hands. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it makes it a little bit harder. And so we're really gonna challenge that here and really feel like I'm in my rear hip and staying back to drive this ball from my backside rather than shifting forward here. That was better. Not so much. A couple more heavies. All right, so now we're just gonna transition. Same drill, just with regular balls. The heavy balls can do a lot of good. They're really challenging, obviously, to my ability to stay back here, because if I go get it, my barrel is going to be in and out of the zone a little bit quicker. So they'll give me a lot of feedback if they start to pancake or they don't get to the back net or close to the back net. Typically means that my barrel is clipping it in and out of the zone, and so it's good feedback. Now we're going to do the same exact drill, but go to regular balls. Start getting a feel, blending it back to regular baseballs, and then we're going to blend it back with a regular bat too, and get a little bit closer to game swings too, and kind of go through that process of what that looks like for us. When we do a routine, we try to stay at the beginning, stay a little bit further away from what our game swing will look like, isolating certain parts of the body that we may need work with in that particular time, and then throughout the session, we'll progress it up to get ready to go out and hit on the field, get closer to that game swing. So short bat, angled toss from second base with regular balls from launch. Ball coming, try to stay off the IR here. Out here trying to win a job. A little yank, didn't stay back very well. And so, will you toss me a heavy ball real quick? And so another thing, something I like to do, I actually learned this one from, his name's Jace Tingler. He's the bench coach for the Twins now. He was the manager for the Padres last year. So when I hit with him when I was younger, what we would do is we'd put a ball here back on this chalk line, other batter's box, right? And so I know it may be tough to see on the camera, but I'll put a ball here. It's like right inside my back hip, right? And it gives me a visual of where I want to think about trying to hit this ball to really help me be patient and stay back. And so that's been a good tool for me that I've used throughout my career to help give me a visual. And so something I would do in game is, I ended up playing on some turf fields, but when I had dirt, I would draw a line across to help me feel like I'm staying back and give me that visual component to help me stay back, and that's something that helped me. And so sometimes this gives me a visual to try to stay behind this ball, be able to drive this ball from back here rather than way out front. So these next couple, I'm gonna put this ball here and use that visual to try to help me out. Last one. One more. A little spinny on those last two. Try to really get my middle part, my obliques firing rather than my back here on this one. It really helped me stay back. Cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go from launch just with regular bat for a few. And so we're gonna do a few swings from launch, and then I'm gonna do what we call stride stops. And like I said, start progressing it up closer to the game swing. And so an issue too is when I get to the forward move and striding, wanting to stay back too. Sometimes I want to lunge. So we're going to start from launch for a few with the regular bat, you know, kind of blend our way back up rather than just jumping straight into it. Kind of like a weight room progression. You know, you don't do this the most challenging, difficult progression right off the jump. You kind of work your way up to it. So same thought process here. Same drill, angled toss, regular ball, but we're going to go regular bat here. And go away from the short bat. So I'm gonna take a few from launch and then we'll get to stride stops. Smell you. What you think? Williamsport, he says. Maybe for you, little guy. Felt myself get turny, my top side. So on that one, I took, and it was a strike, I took it because I felt myself, like I mentioned earlier, turning my shoulders more than my hips. And so that's another thing with this angled toss to be careful of, is then some hitters will want to get really spinny with their upper half, and you want to get there with your pelvis and with your hips. And so something to kind of counterbalance this is sometimes we'll go both angles. So we'll have someone from this angle and someone from this angle. And so from the shortstop side, and that can really help them because they can't see this ball coming from the shortstop side unless it's their hips turned and not their shoulders. So if they turn their shoulders a ton, like I can't see this ball coming in from that shortstop side. So it can be a good balance back and forth to really get us to not over rotate our shoulders when we're getting stretched. A little jumpy. Gonna do one more. Try to think about hitting this back at this orange ball. Closer. Okay. So now the last one we're gonna do is called stride stops. And so I'm gonna keep the same focus. We're gonna have an angled toss here, same angle from the second base side. I'm gonna keep this orange ball here to kind of give me a visual of where I wanna hit it. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the forward move. And so for me, my stride's not a very big one. I like to get wide, and I'll go just a little baby step, try to get in my hips here, really get that back hip screwed into the ground. You know, sometimes what I'll do is I'll do some feels with the farm board when I do my forward move to help myself feel like I'm not pushing into the ground. And so what you'll wanna see is the board turn back towards the catcher when you load, but with our hip. And so into the ground, not pushing, like that. And so I did a couple feels, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stride, stop, and then he's gonna toss, I'm gonna swing. And so I'm really emphasizing getting back to that launch position and mastering that position so I can stay back and make that decision late rather than having to commit early to whatever the pitch is. And so here's a few stride stop swings. Pretty early, be patient. That was a little bit better. And so another thing we can do too, every once in a while, we can mix in like lob tosses to really emphasize staying back and being balanced. And so we're not gonna do that now, but just to give you guys another option, if as you progress, you still see a little bit of a lunge, a little push forward, a little jumpiness. You can have the tosser lob them and be a lot slower pitch and really emphasize staying back. And so sometimes what we'll do too is we'll do stride stops. You take the fastballs, the firm ones, and then you try to hit the slow ones to really emphasize driving that slower pitch and staying back and being patient and making sure we're getting to a good position here. So we're not going to do that, but just giving you guys another option. All right, 2 more, if they're decent. Said every hitter ever. That ain't it, Chief. So I'm gonna do a couple fills here with the farm board before my last one. Really emphasize my pelvis getting turned, not my shoulders. A little push there. All right. Stride stop. One more. I'll yank you with the back. Snap hook that one. One more. Really try to let this one travel back to this orange ball. Call it a day. That was inside. Try to stay off the IR again. Better. All right, so today's focus, just a reminder, was really focused on staying back and like the angles that it requires for you to stay back and be able to drive this pitch, and then also some tools to use to help feeling yourself be patient, letting the ball come to you, letting the game come to you, letting the ball travel, all those things. And so giving you some tools to do that, and then also giving you some drills to help with creating those angles that'll help you achieve that goal of staying back and driving that ball the other way. And so just a quick reminder, the first drill that we did, back leg swings, really focuses on reciprocal movement, staying on that back side so we're not pushing forward to the front side. Next drill was a deep side toss, and so having it at this back angle, we did it from launch and really emphasizing staying behind this ball and driving it down the first baseline. So if I push, I'm gonna cut that ball a lot, it's gonna go foul. The next drill we did was angle toss from the second baseman with a short bat and heavy balls. Again, from launch, really emphasizing being patient because the short bat will get in and out of the zone a little bit quicker. Heavy balls will give extreme feedback, and then the angle that it's coming in at will really make me want to go get it. But if I do, I'm not gonna have success. I gotta let that ball travel and get back into the zone because it's coming from outside. Next, went to the same drill, short bat, launch with regular balls, start to progress it back up to our game swing, or close to. Then we went regular bat, angle toss, regular ball to get away from the short bat and more swinging our gamer. And then the last round was stride stops, which was the step before we would go to where I do my regular swing. I really emphasize getting into that good launch position, swiveling, being balanced, being braced, and then trying to drive this ball deep in the zone to opposite field, center to right center here, and being patient and staying back. And then another thing I want to throw in is sometimes that can be difficult on inside pitches, and so being disciplined with this too. So if you get an inside pitch, which I didn't do a very good job of today, I would still try to stay through it. And so we don't want to try to manipulate our barrel to drive it that way. We just want to get our body in a position to drive it that way. And so 2 options is hit it where it's at. So if it is a little middle in, be okay, let yourself get the barrel out and drive that ball middle to left center, or just take the pitch if you're really, really trying to stay focused and disciplined on driving it that way. So other than that, that's all we got for today. Comment for the next video what you guys want to see in our next routine, if you wouldn't mind, so we can kind of know what you guys are struggling with, what you guys want to work on, and so we can give you some tools and help give you guys feedback for to give you guys some help on a routine to help your guys' swing. So like I said, that's all we got, so peace out.